Hello, I'm Bob the Booker and welcome to my channel. And today I wanted to talk about these 5 debut books, these ones here, that I picked up at an event recently. So essentially, long story short, in a bookshop in London, Bard Books, there was a sort of speed dating style event where essentially 5 debut authors spoke about their books that were about to come out. And sort of, had about 10 minutes to do a little reading, answer some questions, speak about the books and all those sorts of things. And so I wanted to talk about these here. I'll sort of be reading them as I go over the year. No sort of major hurry necessarily, so they'll sort of pop up in weekly reads. But really, really excited to talk a bit about these. And so yeah, let's get going. And by all means, if any of these sound interesting, feel free to go and check them out. So let's get talking about them. So first up, we have Human Animal by Seth Insua. And I am really excited about this for several reasons. Firstly, this does actually genuinely really sound like it's up my alley in terms of the type of book it is. But also just generally, I think it's already had some really great reviews. And so I've been really wanting to check this out. Long story short, the book, the core idea of the book is that there is a farm. It's been worked for many years by the same family. And essentially one day there are protests that start at this farm from animal rights activists. And that itself opens up a conversation about the ethics around farming and what have you. But what then starts to unravel from the story, from what I can see so far, is that there is a background sort of element that might be slightly more, not necessarily nefarious, but there's a family secret that is hidden. Essentially the son of the farmer seems to be involved in some ways and potentially meaning that the protests were there in the first place. So something a bit of family drama and a bit of a wider conversation about sort of farming and ethics and all these other things. So this just sounds like a really interesting slow burn of a book that I'm really, really, really excited for. Next up, we have Alice Chadwick with Dark Like Under. And this is a book that just also sounds really fantastic. It is about a group of teenagers on over a really hot summer. And essentially one of their teachers has mysteriously died. And so part of the book is trying to understand how that came to be in the first place, how he came to die, but also these other secrets that unravel as soon as these people are sort of left all amongst themselves. I think it sounds really fascinating from the bit that was read out on the night. There's this really beautifully lyrical and descriptive style that just really captivated me. And I think particularly I love a book that has a hot, languid summer or that kind of sticky feeling to it. And so I'm really, really excited about this one. Next up, we have Instructions for Heartbreak by Sarah Handyside. And this sounded really interesting to me on the night because of what it sort of looks to do. So on the surface, it's a book about heartbreak and the various ways that characters try to sort of get through it. But the book also plays around with some kind of fun and interesting things of having these almost magazine-like excerpts of top tips to avoid heartbreak or to get over heartbreak. And the book, at least from the extract that was read on the night, seems to really play with that idea of what does it look like to both be living through heartbreak, but also have somebody tell you exactly what it looks like and exactly how to get around it. And so this book sounds like a really sort of fun, enjoyable read, even though heartbreak itself is not fun or enjoyable, but a way of sort of looking at that with quite a fun and almost ironic lens. So yeah, this sounds really great, and I'm sort of excited to have something like this to read as well in amongst some of the other books that might be a lot heavier this year. This sounds like it'll be quite a lot of fun, particularly from the excerpt that was read out on the night. That was just a really great, really great, enjoyable piece of writing. Next up, we have Julia Raeside with Don't Make Me Laugh. And Julia on the night was talking a bit about the kind of where parts of this book came from, and sounded really quite fascinating. So part of the idea is that the same skills essentially that go into a comedian, particularly especially a comedian, but sort of entertainers more broadly, being able to control a room and keep that energy and kind of control how everything is going. Some of those same skills are essentially transferable potentially into people who seek to abuse others. And although that sounds like an incredibly dark turn for this book, and obviously that is a really heavy topic that this book will be dealing with, it does also hinge around comedy. So it's a book that, at least from the extract that was read out on the night, also had this element of fun and humour, but obviously around a very dark theme. And so I found it really interesting thinking about this with the book, particularly some high-profile comedians who have had allegations against them in recent years. I think this book feels even more timely for that reason. But what I think sounds so fascinating is the way that this book is going to blend kind of comedy in the way that, kind of comedy for the reader, as in something funny for the reader, but also seeing the dark side of comedy as an industry and how various characters within that can occupy several hats. They can be beloved by the public, but also can be monsters in other capacities. And last but not least, we have This Immaculate Body by Emma van Straaten. And this sounds really fantastic, I think, as well. It's a book that focuses on somebody who is obsessive and has a really has built up this image in her head of this man who she is in love with and who obviously loves her and is sending her messages. And so books like I'm a Fan or Enduring Love by Ian McEwan kind of come to mind from what the author was saying on the night about this. But the idea here is this woman is working as a cleaner, and she sort of falls in love or has some kind of obsession with the man whose flat she's cleaning. And she thinks that he is sending her coded messages through things that he leaves around the house or through things he says via this cleaning app or whatever. And it just sounded so interesting in the way that this book is both incredibly dark as a topic, but written in this kind of very fun and approachable and interesting way. So yeah, I'm really keen to read this one. I've heard a few people who heard a few people on BookTube and various other places read this and love this, so I'm really excited for it as well. So interesting to see so many books come out that are dealing with this level of obsession, and this one sounds like a really great addition to that list. So those are 5 debut books that I am really excited to read, and I will, like I said, be sort of peppering these into the reading I'm doing, so they may appear in random weekly reads. Maybe by the end of the year, if I've read them all, I'd love to kind of come back and revisit them in that sense. But yeah, a really interesting set of debuts, and I think from listening to the authors speak about them on the night, it was so interesting to hear their thoughts, and particularly because these books just sound, like so much love and care has gone into them, and they're about such different topics. So yeah, really keen to get reading these, and do check them out if they sound of interest to you. Speak to you all very soon, and take care. Bye-bye.